Hi y'all, it's me. Hi Kathy, I want to thank you very much for the chance to try out for your design team. For those who don't know, Kathy has an online Etsy store and it is Discount Paper Crafts, and I'll put that link down below for you. She has really nice variety of items in her shop, plus they're really good prices, so you need to go check that out. I'll also put a link to Kathy's Facebook page so that you can follow along with all the exciting things that happen on a day-to-day basis. So without further ado, let me show you my cards. And now I've decided to use 3 different cards. The reason being I wanted to show a variety of styles, because I'm not just a one style person. I like different styles. Now I know those of you who are my regular followers are saying, you're doing cards? And I am. I figured if I was on a design team, it would force me to make cards. I love making them. I just find them a little bit more challenging to me, but that's what I like. I like challenges. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to do this. So I wanted to show a variety of styles with that. So with that said, the first card I'm showing you today is this one here, and it's very playful and fun. For this particular card, I used the Dear Lizzie Neapolitan collection, and it's really pretty. I used craft cardstock for the base, and basically what I did to begin with was I took a piece of the paper, the pattern paper, and I went ahead and took my Tim Holtz distress tool and I distressed all the edges to give them a kind of a worn look. And then I applied a piece of text paper here to the background, there and there where I ripped the paper, where I ripped the paper back a little so you could reveal the text. I then sewed that onto the card to give it a nice kind of homemadey kind of look. I took a banner. Now the banner came out of the large 12 by 12 collection because doesn't come in the smaller pad here, and you can see it's just loose here, and it already comes sewn, which is awesome. I took and stamped the word happy on here, and I used a vintage photo for that, ink wise. And then I use these brads. Now I've had these forever in my stash. They're for making memories, and they're little tiny brad like buttons. So I went ahead and cut the shanks off the back, and then I just glued them down there to look like they were holding that banner. The next thing I did was I applied this piece of paper in the background here that you see from the collection as well, and I used a Stampin' Up! Punch here to punch the edges to give it a nice little added feature. I took a Polaroid out of the 12 by 12 pad of Neapolitan, and I cut it out, and then I cut out the center, which was this ice cream cone, and I kind of just tilted the picture a little. I didn't want it to be straight in the frame of the Polaroid, and I applied it onto some cardstock that matched the collection. Glossy accented it and tied some baker's twine here just to give it some additional oomph. Next thing I did was I stamped this image here. To do that, I've had a stamp from Stampin'. This is from Close to My Heart, and this one is said every day. It's right down there. Every day is an adventure. I didn't want the word adventure, so I taped over that and I added the word party instead, which I thought was more appropriate. And I fussy cut that and applied it there. This camera here is a stamp that I got, which I adore. It's this tiny little camera, and it is a stamp, and I used chalk ink in a color that matched the collection, and I glossy accented, pop dotted it, and fussy cut it. So really cute. It kind of gave it some dimension off of the page there. This particular button, it was actually a brad, and it came from also Making Memories, and I've had it in my collection for some time. And I just cut the shank off the back and then glued it on. I thought it matched this collection perfectly, so that was what I did there. The final thing I did on the front here was I took the paper that's inside and just cut it little banner strips and added it to the tops and the bottom of the card. So there you go, that's the front of the card. When you open it up, I used again the paper, the same border punch here, and I took a piece of the banner again, stamped the word you. I added this heart, which I punched out and fussy cut, and then, not fussy cut, I punched it out and inked the edges actually. And the sentiment is, you are my reason why. and it came from this Ellie Edwards stamp set from Technique Tuesday, and I used that, and I also used it with, I used Versamark ink, and I used the Tim Holtz Distress embossing powder in Vintage Photo so that the image would be embossed on there. So there you have it. That's the first card that I've done, and I really am happy with the way it came out. It's very fun and playful. Next is the card that I've done for this one. I decided I was going to hand cut something. So I hand cut this shape out, and here you go. This card is a fountain that I cut myself. And what I did to this was I took some paper from this paper pad, which is Crafty Secrets, and it's the classic collection. And they had a paper in here similar to this one that looked like stone. So I used that as the base of the fountain so that it would look kind of fountainish, you know, if that's such a word. I applied that paper onto the shape, and my shape was this to begin with. I drew it out freehand and just cut it out and used it for a pattern. So the next thing I had to do was I had to add my pearls, and for this I used, on each tier, I added a strand of the teardrop pearls. I also added, next was the vine, and I took a piece of this vine here that I have in my stash, and I just cut pieces of it and laid it on there. The next thing I had to do was add these sprays that are coming out to look like water. That's the point of those there, and they came from here. And basically what I had to do was glue them down and then give them bending so that they would appear to be water falling out of the fountain. I added various flowers from my collection, excuse me, and then I added these little tiny birds that I have in my stash. They're very small doves, and I added a couple of those onto this card. And one is right up here on the top, and another would be right down here on this flower. So that's kind of the fountain look, and this card does stand. It's freestanding, so in the front, if you could see it from a standing position, it's very cute because the water sprays are out there. It does open up, and inside I used the vines, just like I did on the front of the set. I also used this stamp set. I believe it's from Hero Arts. It is, and I took, it was one whole stamp, and I didn't want the whole thing, so I just cut off the part I wanted, which was Just Because. I took that and I used the, again, Versamark embossing ink, and I used the Distress powder and peeled paint, and that was how I achieved the sentiment on the inside. So there you have card number 2. And now the last card, I wanted to go with something a little bit darker, and I wanted something a little bit different than what I've seen, and so I made this particular card, which appears to be a shadow box. Very cute, and I love this. I love the look of it. It's so fun. It's just so different and fun. For this card, what I had to do was choose a paper collection, so of course I went with romance novel. Oh my gosh, lovely paper. I want to use it for everything. So I used that as the paper here on the edge of the frame and also down in the background. The next thing I did was I took and added some ribbon. I made a double bow there and used a buckle slide and a flat back pearl. And then I added that same pearl trim that I showed you earlier from my stash, just along the top inside there. I used, next is this dress form, and that would be from Tim Holtz, and that would be the smaller version of the dress form, the movers and shapers. So I covered her with paper from the collection. I inked her with black soot around her edges and put seam binding, pearls, trim lace, and some more pearls around the neck. Really pretty, you can see there. And then over here you'll see 3 butterflies, which I punched out of the paper using this Martha Stewart 3-in-1 butterfly punch. And I added some bling to the center, and I inked the edges with black soot and bent their wings up to give them some movement. This little sentiment that you see here, that came from the Graphic 45 Ladies Diary stamp set, which is right here. Sorry, it's right there, and reads, "True beauty in a woman is reflected in her soul." For that, I used, again, the Versamark ink, and this time I used Stampenda's black embossing powder to emboss the sentiment there. I wanted to have a pretty shape there, and I wasn't quite wanting to do it freehand, so I went into my closet and pulled out Labels 5 of Spellbinders, and this one that's right here, I laid it down after I stamped the sentiment, traced around it with a pencil, fussy cut it out, and then I inked the edges with black soot, and that's how I achieved that shape. Down here in the corner, I have some flowers from my collection and some pretty skeleton leaves to finish it off. Really beautiful. When you open this up, you're going to see the back side of the shadow box, and I wanted to be sure that all the edges were covered so that none of it was exposed, and I used the paper from the collection to do that. Down here, you'll see where I went and stamped. On there, I did again use the black embossing powder. I used the, trying to find my stamp over here. I know I put it on the table. There it is. I used this stamp from Studio 112, and it reads, "You are such a good friend." And I just embossed it there. I added a few flatback pearls, some seam binding down here, and that finishes off the card. And as you can see, the profile of this card, it's a little bit thick, which is nice. It's something different and unique, and I really love it. So with that said, I really happy with the way all of this turned out, and I wanted to again show the variety of style that I have, and there you go. So I want to thank you all for watching, and Kathy, thank you again very much. Be sure and shop at Discount Paper Crafts, and I'll have that link down below for you. Thanks, and have a good day. Bye.